Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And welcome back to Let's Talk on Win TV. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, and this is our seventh season here on Win TV. Can you believe it? Seventh season, meaning 7 years. Yes. And we thank you. We thank you so much for your continued support of the Washington Informer, for Win TV, for all that we do. We just thank you, thank you for your support. And today we will be diving into some deep essentials of living a balanced and prosperous life in 2026. Here at the Informer and actually on my own, I came up with, I was telling folks a little while ago, my theme for this year is it will be fixed in 2026. And I heard someone do a sermon on that actually last Sunday, who said, no, it won't be fixed in 2026 because stuff is still broken. But I'm declaring that there will be some things fixed in 2026. And I hope that you all will kind of enjoy the show, get some tips, and begin to fix some things personally in your lives, in your family's lives, in your community, because there are some things that we have some control over. And that's why I'm excited about the guest that we have here today. We're going to be looking at ways that we can enhance our spiritual health, improve our overall well-being, and even improving our finances, the well-being of our finances. This is a must for us in 2026. And our featured guests are Reverend Tony Lee, who will share some insights on nurturing our spirit, wellness advocate Leslie Isler, who will discuss practical tips for maintaining our mental well-being in today's fast-paced, depressing environment. And our last segment today is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase. And from Chase, I'm really excited to have back with us again the community manager, Asia Clarke, who will help us to start the year off on the right financial foot. But before we start our conversation, I want to just take a moment. Last year, at the end of the year, we mourned over the loss of our business reporter and longtime staff member, James Wright. And fortunately, he had a beautiful homegoing ceremony. We want to thank everybody that showed up. The alphas showed up and showed out because James was an alpha. And so they did their traditional memorial program at the service. So we were very pleased with the homegoing. And James has now joined the family. His remains have joined the family in Austin, Texas, but he is with the family in the spirit space, and so it's a joyous place to know that he's still with us in spirit. But then we realized that we had some very sad news about one of our other former photographers who lost his life in an automobile accident, which got a lot of news this week down near the White House. Someone speeding hit several cars, and Markel Williams was doing what he would do, walking across the street on his way to a photo assignment at his church, and ended up being the only victim of that automobile accident to lose his life as a result of that accident. So our managing editor, Misha Green did do some words that we want to share with you as we honor and remember Markel Williams.
What comes to mind for Markel is faith, family, his fraternity, and fearless storytelling.
Misha Green smiled through tears as she talked about Markel Williams and the years they worked together at the Washington Informer. Markel was right out of college, passionate about journalism, and, says Green, good at it, even early on. He'd recently turned his efforts to freelance work, she says.
He truly loved his work. From Washington, D.C. to Ghana, he told stories that really made a difference and was such an amazing visual storyteller.
Thank you, Misha, and thank you all for taking time and sharing this moment to remember Markel. He will be missed. So let's move on. Before we get into our conversations, I want to make sure that you picked up a copy of the most recent issue of the Washington Informer. You know, I love to show the newspaper. You'll notice I'm in a different space. This is my office. I call it my museum. But anyway, we're in a different space, but different space, same publication, and we're still printing, thank goodness. So if you haven't had an opportunity to pick up the printed edition of the Informer, and I hope you will do so from our many locations throughout the DMV. You can access the digital edition anytime, anywhere by visiting our website at washingtoninformer.com. And while you're there, I ain't too proud to beg. I'm begging and pleading that you will take a moment to become a subscriber. The only thing we ask for is your email address, and you can become a subscriber where the newspaper and our content will be delivered to you daily, because we have a newsletter, which we hope that you will subscribe to as well, which will be delivered to you every day in your inbox. And so we call it Win Daily. Go ahead and go on over there, sign up, and we welcome you to the Washington Informer family. And while tuning into the show today, spread the word and share this broadcast on your social media platforms. You can also access us on Facebook, IG, X, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Washington Informer TV, where you can watch some of the previous Let's Talk episodes you may have missed. So, at this point, we're going to jump on into our segment because, as you can tell, I need a word of inspiration. You all may need it too. And who else better to start that with was our very, very own Reverend Tony Lee, pastor of Community of Hope AME Church. Reverend Lee?
Sister Denise, it's such an honor always to be here with you, and what a wonderful way to start off the new year, but with the Washington Informer. So I'm grateful to be here today.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm getting ready to ask you some questions about, we're talking about the fight and in this moment, and how do we, fight some of the, I guess, the emotional things that we're going through. Because last year was a tough year, and some are saying this year is going to be even tougher. But, I want to start with you as a pastor, because you have to look at a congregation of folks who've been impacted by all of these things. But where do you get your inspiration from? How do you keep yourself whole?
Well, and I think it's a couple of things. One, I actually believe what I preach. And so the same tools I give people, scripture and meditation and prayer, help me along the journey. But also a good therapist. My God, Jesus, a good therapist, has been helpful along the journey as well, because I believe it's important for a healer to also be going through a process of healing themselves. And so I get joy in Christ, but also I get fulfillment and growth in kind of the systems I have around me to help me to not burn out.
Wonderful. I mean, that's a good thing. I'm glad to know that. And it's not often we hear um, mature Black men talking about therapists. So, uh,
Well, and I'm going to tell you this. I'll just say a joke. I say a joke that if times get really hard and it's a choice between paying the water bill, or paying the therapist bill, um, I can take a shower at my mama's house, but I'm going to pay for that therapist, because that therapist is saving my life.
wow, that's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful news, and I think a good prescription for many people who are watching. We're talking about, again, I said the fight, just the fight of in this moment and the fight ahead. Let me ask you, what role do you think faith leaders play today in, sort of settling folks' souls and spirits? What's the role of faith leaders?
So I think faith leaders have a couple of roles. One, so there's a scripture in First Chronicles. It talks about the sons of Issachar, and it talks about how they were men who knew how to discern the times. I think faith leaders are really interpreters of the moment. Faith leaders need to help interpret the current moment, to be able to help folks have a sense of vision and possibility of how God can be helpful in that moment, to give grounding. That what we realize even in this current moment is we have an administration that focuses on trying to overwhelm us with chaos. But there's a context for that. This isn't the first time we've had a white supremacist administration. This isn't the first time that we face these kind of challenges. But this isn't the first time that faith leaders have not also stood in the midst of that. And so in this region, I believe the faith leaders are translators of hope in a region that can be really loud, in which power is really loud, and a lot of people go unheard.
On that note, because we're gearing up for the Martin Luther King holiday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about a faith leader of faith leaders, who really had to keep the movement going, to keep people engaged, to see that there was a mountaintop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Experience that we could all have. And so, are there any lessons that maybe Dr. King or some of those civil rights folks from the past, religious leaders, actually, faith leaders, that you have adopted over the years or helped to kind of direct your path?
Yeah, and I think a couple of things. One of the things that we learned really from that generation is they were true leaders and they didn't worry about opinion polls. A challenge is that when you have leaders who really are sticking their finger up to see which way the wind is blowing, then they move whichever way the wind is blowing. And a lot of times we have leadership that is not taking the hard stances or making the hard decisions, even if the opinion polls are going in a different direction. And that's what faith leadership is about, right? It's about being able to say what's right, even when the rest of the world is trying to go with what's wrong. We watched that with Dr. King. The reality is everybody's talking about Dr. King's dream, but folks don't talk about his stand against the war in Vietnam. And how unpopular he was at the time of his death. And so at the time of his death, everybody wasn't screaming about the dreamer, but a lot of people who said they were for him were fighting against him because he was making an unpopular stand. But he was making a stand because he was dealing with the fact that in the same way that we need to be standing for Palestine, in the same way that we need to understand the connection with what's happening in Venezuela, in the same way that we need to understand the connection with our brothers and sisters who are immigrants, that it's this whole question of fighting for each other and its interconnectedness of oppression, and being able to fight that. And so I think that's one thing. The second thing I learned from the civil rights era, though, is the importance of worship and faith. They didn't have major moves and not go by the church and have a worship service before they went out, because they understood there was a power that came not of themselves. Shout out to the memory of Richard Smallwood. In the song Total Praise, he says, "What? You are the source of my strength. You are the strength of my life. I lift my hands in total praise to thee." That in the movement, our worship songs were movement songs. That our worship meetings were in the church. We would organize in the church, but then we would go upstairs and have a prayer meeting and have a time of singing. And then we would go march, and then we would go rally, and then we would go and fight against water hoses and dogs and that kind of stuff, because we had a power that was not just of ourselves. And I think that sometimes when you walk into a battle without your real strength, then that's how you can get worn down. But if there's ever anything we learn, that we learn about the God of our weary years and the God of our silent tears.
Wow. I was talking to someone the other day, actually my husband, and we were talking about houses of faith.
Mm-hmm.
And how, they were such important places for us in the past. But remember, they were the only places for us in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And people weren't paying much attention to what we were doing because, even during slavery, the slave owners allowed Black folks to go to church.
Right.
They figured if they sang and prayed, they were they felt safe. But they didn't know all the organizing and everything that was going on in those places of faith. And so when people gather, at Community of Hope, I figured, again, you're looking at folks and you're trying to figure out what is the struggle, what is the fight, what is it that I'm trying to lead. And I know over the years for you, it's been getting Black folks to register and vote.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know if that's changed, but, going into 2026, what is your fight?
So my fight is a couple of things. I do believe getting Black folks registered to vote is a piece of it. I think that it's important for us to use kind of all the tools in our toolkit. And so I do think that electoral politics is one tool in the toolkit, but it's also helping folks to understand what institutional racism is, what white supremacy is, and what institutional attacks are, and how we need to fight that. So it's policy battles. Some of that happens with the vote, but some of that happens in how we're lobbying folks. Some of that happens in how we're organizing and fighting and protesting stuff. And so I think there are ranges. And I think at Community of Hope, one of the things that we're trying to do in this season is really empower people who are doing good work. In the range of it. And so one of the blessings I see on any given Sunday is I can look out and I can see folks who are working on the ground in violence prevention. I can see folks who are working on the ground in Congress or in those kinds of places or in county councils. We can see people who are doing different places in different areas, people who are just working with our young people and working to empower our young people and helping to shift institutional issues, people who are working around fair housing, people who are working around mass incarceration. And so I think it's the church's job, not just to empower them with a sermon, but to empower them with resources, to empower them with strategy, and to help to utilize the church's influence to help them to be better at what they're doing and impacting community.
Yeah, I think, Reverend Lee, when I've heard this a lot the last couple of months of the year, that everything that we need, we have.
Every single thing.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so, and I think that what the enemy wants us to feel is a scarcity mindset. And so the enemy wants us to feel that we don't have enough. And so the enemy will have you thinking, wow, there's so many people with so much need and we don't have enough. Almost like when Jesus asked the disciples, hey, it's all these people and there's nowhere for to feed them. Come on, let's feed them. And the disciples' immediate reaction was, hey, we don't have enough. If we had half a year's salary, we couldn't feed all these people. And Jesus asked them, what do we have? And they said, well, it's a little boy and he's got 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. But what are they among so many? And Jesus said, oh, you already have enough. Just with that little bit, with that little poor boy's fish sandwich. And he had to have been black because his mama wasn't going to let him go out following Jesus without no lunch, right? Like, I don't care who you're going to follow, boy. Before you leave this house, you're going to have some food. My child going to have a lunch. A little boy's fish sandwich. And what the scripture says, Jesus told them to organize the people in groups of 50 and 100. And so there was an organizational structure.
Right.
So Jesus helped them get organized. But then 2, Jesus took the bread and he broke it and he gave it. And then they had a distribution set up. Because Jesus didn't give it to everybody, but they had the organization set up, the disciples and at the end, it said that there was a surplus. Over 12 baskets were left after everyone eaten. They just counted the men. Over 5,000 men were there. That wasn't even counting the women and the children.
Wow.
They met all of that need. It didn't seem like they had enough. But if we give what we have and put it in the hands of Christ and let him break it and bless it, then sometimes it takes some breaking, right? Sometimes we're going through some things and there's some breaking that has to happen because there's some breaking of our own egos and there's some breaking of our own selfishness and there's some breaking of our jealousy and our envy. But when we allow Christ to kind of do a work in us and then bless it, then it can meet the need of the multitude. And we've seen that. We come from a community that could take sweet potato pies and build institutions that now we're having problems keeping them accredited. And we got big body Benzes and all this kind of stuff. And the schools that they built, we're having problems keeping together because we're missing the fact that we already have enough. We're running around asking everybody else to take care of our stuff when we got enough to take care of our own stuff.
It's funny. On my way to office today, I passed a bus stop. And, normally, the covered one and they have a bench. Well, the bench was gone. Somebody put a, what do you call it? A chair. Just a chair, one of those lawn chairs. Somebody put a lawn chair in the bus stop. So the people, because a lot of seniors, I'm like, okay, all right.
Right.
I say, I don't need this chair anymore, but somebody else can use it. And it's been there. So
somebody saw the need.
Exactly.
Said, what do I have that can help meet the need?
Right.
instead of complaining about the need,
Right.
instead of complaining about what wasn't happening. They said, well, what do I have in my house that can help meet this need? What do I have to offer that can help make a difference? And that's what we're in right now. If there's ever a time we have to take care of each other, it's right now. If there's ever a time we have to find out ways to empower each other, it's right now.
Wow, I want to thank you, Reverend Lee, for being with us today and for sharing that mini sermon. That's what we needed today, a mini sermon. And I guess the last question I want to ask is because not everybody is, even though you're online, so
Mhm.
people can hear you anytime they want. They may not come into the church, which is not right over in where are you all now? It's
So
Suland.
we're in Crossland High School right now. We're in Crossland High School.
All right. So, and tell us about when your services are.
Crossland High School Sunday at 10 a.m. Sundays 10 a.m. at Crossland High School. Or you can check us out anywhere online: YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, Google TV. All you got to do is just search for Community of Hope AME, and you can join us in any of those spaces. But we'll be so blessed to have you each and every Sunday, Crossland High School at 10 a.m. And you can listen to me on WPGC
Yeah.
95.5 from 8 to 10 on Sundays for some of the best in gospel and inspirational music.
Well, I'm excited. Some of your parishioners, I believe, are just commenting here on our stream, and so I want to thank them for tuning in today and listening to this program. And my last question, which I really don't need to ask you, was about mobilizing people. How do we, I think that's the role of the faith community. But who am I? Because I'm not a part of that. I mean, I'm just sitting there listening. But how do you mobilize, your members and the community? What do we need to do to make sure that we take the words that you offer us and create that action?
So I think the key word you said was community,
Hmm.
right? The key word you said is community. So I believe in this season, in order for the church to really use its strength in mobilization, it has to be in collaboration. And so for the church to really fully function in strength, it's going to be in partnership with non-church, non-faith organizations. So it is going to be looking at how can you use the strength of the church, resources of the church, the human resources, the financial resources, the buildings of the church, the infrastructure of the church, to be able to work with other organizations. Some organizations may be national organizations, but some organizations are grassroots organizations. And how do you all come together to be able to make sure that we are reaching and impacting and talking to everybody? And we have to invest in a younger generation.
Mm.
We have to invest in a younger generation. And investing in a younger generation isn't just about money, but it's about platform. One of my major blessings as I was coming up was that I had folks like a Reverend Jesse Jackson, a Reverend Al Sharp, and a Mark Morial, a Melanie Campbell, a Dr. Dorothy Height. All of them shared platform that Reverend Sharpton could be having a rally here in DC. He see me in the crowd. Tony, come on up. I want you to talk. I want you to speak. I'm just a young dude with cornrows. I had a lot more hair back then. Um, hey, Tony, come on up here. I want you to say something. They shared platform. And as they shared platform, it allowed me to then learn how to do what I do now. And it's my turn to share platform. It's my turn to be able to allow what God has blessed us to do to be utilized by a new generation so that their voice can be heard and they can understand their role and significance in the movement.
Fantastic. Reverend Tony Lee, pastor of Community of Hope AME Church, thank you so much for being with you. I'm going to have to quote two people that have put comments here, and that is Miss Chris B, who says, "We all we got." And I'll follow that up with Nora Brown, who says, "Amen." 4 times.
All of them are good Community of Hope members. I love them so much. They're the best. Sometimes you got to bring your own amen corner.
We appreciate it. We are glad and grateful that they are here with us today. So thank you and God bless you. And we'll see you again soon. We're gonna have to get you back on to give us a word on something else. And feel free to call on us anytime.
We love you so much. And the Washington Informer is just a pillar in our community. And if there's ever a time we need you all standing on the wall, it's right now. in this time of misinformation, we need you all. You're so important to us. And so we just thank God for you, and for the legacy and the heritage you bring, as you honor your parents' legacy in this region. I'm a Southeast baby, so your parents' names ring out. I used to live on Xenia Street. And so I just celebrate you, for just all that you do, and lifting up that legacy.
Well, we do it holding hands with each other. So I appreciate that, Pastor Lee. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
God bless you. Have a great one.
All
Bye-bye.
right. You too. So I think for me that was a great message, a great conversation. I am so pleased that so many of the members of Community Hope did join us, because you might get something out of this next conversation as well. We have Leslie Isler, who is a what you call a well plus being disruptor, and I'm so glad to bring her on. Leslie, hey there. So let's unmute you so we can hear you.
Okay, we back.
We are back.
Okay, cool. Why did you let Pastor Tony preach the house down like that? I'm getting emotional. That was a good word.
It was definitely a good word. And so we need a lot of that. And that's why I think I wanted to start with him and then sort of evolve into our conversation, because, you are, it says well plus being, is that correct?
Well, it's like a little dash, but I just put plush. So,
all right.
Mixing it up a little bit.
You're a mindful strategist and well-being creator. Talk about what you do and what this all means.
Absolutely. So I approach well-being in an unconventional way. I connect with organizations, practitioners, to meet people where they are. I know a lot of times we hear things like meditation and breath work, and I hear a lot of times, I don't know how to breathe. I don't know how to do that. I'm like, well, if you don't know how to breathe, we wouldn't be talking right now. Or if you didn't know how to meditate, no one wants you to turn your brain off, right? But it's literally finding still and having those moments where you're connecting with yourself, but also if thoughts come, it's just like, no, thank you. I don't need that right now. I'm prioritizing myself. And that's how I like to approach things.
I'm going to make this tie-in, and I don't know, I wonder how you would feel about this, but since we did just talk to Reverend Lee, are talking about, maybe the need for more people to go back, to the church. But the whole thing of mindfulness and meditation and those breathing and quiet moments, to me, are the times when we can better receive the messages that a pastor like a Tony Lee or other is delivering, because otherwise we have this busy mind and we're not receiving it. But tell me how you feel about that. Tell me if I'm right or wrong.
No, for sure. And also, there's never like a right or wrong, right? It's literally your perspective, but it's also meditating on the word. It's also, anytime I feel disconnected or I don't feel grounded, it's because I've started my day immediately doing things for other people, or immediately getting on social media, listening to, other people's thoughts before I've tapped in with myself. And it always shows in how I feel. Your body keeps the score. So if you aren't connecting with yourself, there's literally nothing you can do for anybody else.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the steps that you think people should take in 2026 to become more centered, I guess, if that's the word?
Well, first thing, I think it's a mindset. If you, don't love yourself enough, or if you're not considering yourself or this blessing that we have as a vessel, if that mindset doesn't start first, it doesn't matter what type of gym membership you have. It doesn't matter what type of technology, the red light therapy. I love it. But if I'm not right up here, or if I haven't connected with myself or to a higher power that, Pastor Tony talked about, it's really, all in vain. So it's about staying rooted, staying grounded, all of the things that you need to do to connect with your inner being first, so that you can be of service to others. I know Pastor Tony was talking about mobilizing and connecting, and you can't do that if you are not yourself, filled.
Mm-hmm. We have come through a period. I mean, it seems like COVID was so long ago, but it wasn't. And
You
it just,
forgot quick.
yeah, but it
Real quick.
changed a lot of things about how we interact with people. And so, how important is it to sort of have, I guess, individuals or to strengthen connections with others?
No, for sure. I think a lot of this is strategic. Like what we're going through is strategic to isolate us because we are forgetting our strength in numbers. We're forgetting what community does for us. I love the conversation earlier about we have exactly what we need. We're also accountable for each other, right? So when you're in isolation, I love, when, my grandmother or just, elders, they used to say, I need to lay my eyes on you, right? We're getting away from that. And because it's, I don't need you checking in on me. Like, I got this. I don't need to talk to nobody. Like, this is all, strategic to keep us, separated and isolated so that we don't come together, that we don't mobilize. So for me, I plan this event called No Agenda. It's a space for people to do absolutely nothing. If it's something is not on my calendar, it doesn't happen. So with that, I had to plan time to do nothing, to unplug, to relax. And I have invited people in, my ecosystem so that I could lay eyes on them, so that I could actually see like, hey, how you doing? If you can mask a lot of that through text and sometimes through, telephone. But when you actually look at somebody in their eyes, you can genuinely see, you might need a little bit more. Do you need a hug, right? Do you need to rap real quick? These are like all the things I like to, gather people for those reasons.
So this is a business pretty much that you have, right?
Yes, I'm a mindfulness consultant. My business is Wellness on the Fly. So it's one arm is mindfulness consulting, and then the other arm is, wellness, um, creativity, content creation. But it's all under one house.
So for someone that's listening and they're trying to figure out, okay, so, Leslie, I mean, because Reverend Lee talked about the therapist. You're not a therapist.
Not a therapist. So
Okay.
yeah, that's this thing. I like to consider myself as like a bridge to a lot of these resources, right? So if you're an organization that's looking to make sure that your employees have some well-being initiatives, some events, some yoga in your office, I can help you with that. If you're a practitioner that's looking to connect with some of these businesses, that's looking to reach the community, I can also connect you with that too. Also, I know some good therapists. I like to say that I'm the bridge between a lot of these resources, but I'm also using content creation to spread the word about how to maintain your well-being, especially through Black-owned businesses and women-owned businesses.
So let's go back to that, to the wellness activities that a business might want to have. I mean, a lot of us, most of you talk to are small business owners,
Mhm.
but that's even better because now you're not trying to plan for 100 people. You're just trying to plan for 5.
Right,
But
right.
what are some of those things that you offer?
So
What?
I offer is more so like consulting. So we start with a conversation and you let me know like what are some of the things you're dealing with. Are you stressed? Are you depressed? Do you feel like you don't have enough time to unplug? A lot of the things I'm helping people have a mental health day. I know that's a huge thing. DC has been voted the most overworked city 2 years in a row, and I'm pretty sure we're on track to be number 3. So it's helping you plan a mental health day. Do you need some activities to do in the city, to do in Maryland, like closer to where you live? Do you want to connect with other people? Do you want to do it by yourself? I can ask you a series of questions and then give you some strategies and some recommendations of where to go.
Could you give us an example, maybe of a business that you worked with and what
Sure.
you were
So
able?
right now, I'm loving the Salamander series, Salamander DC. That's also a Black owned hospitality brand. They have this float experience and their pool where you can get in pretty much the floaters and you have a sound bath. That's literally one of my favorite things to do right now. It does cost. Also, I love going to Grounded in Anacostia. There's a wellness studio there. I love Pilates. I have a friend who is about to open up a wellness studio, Reformed, in PG County in February. There's so many different avenues that people can go. Love Third Spaces, Chandler Mitchell Gallery for just going to see art by a Black woman owned gallerist. Like all of these things are things I enjoy.
Interesting. Okay. And so, do people actually call you and and ask for your services? I
No,
mean,
for
I'm
sure.
just trying to figure out, if it's, it's like, again, going back to Reverend Lee, who talked about going to a therapist, which we don't hear a lot of people talking about. But I think there's a younger generation now that's more comfortable with having those conversations. But then also, you're right, people don't really know how to wind down. And so, would that just be a phone call to your business or to you to say, look, I'm trying to wind down. I can't figure out how to do it.
And that's the beginning of the combo. And then I start to ask some questions about what's your budget? Where do you want to go? How much time do you have? Is it a day? Is it a week? I hear you're about to go take a trip somewhere. So like I can help point you in the right direction with, travel agencies. I just think it depends on, what you're looking for. And I can point you in the right direction. It
Well,
might not always be, me, but I know somebody who do. That's, what I mean by like community of there's so many talented people in the DMV area. So if I don't know it, I know someone who does.
before we wrap up, I just want to ask you, if there was one piece of advice that you would give our viewers, that they can start applying today to ensure a healthier, more balanced life in 2026. We're at the beginning of the year. Well, I have to, we always talk about these New Year's resolutions that we
Mhm.
make on New Year's Eve and then forget them by, January 30th or maybe January 1st, 2nd.
Yeah, it's the ninth. I done messed up a few of mine, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay. Starting
But,
over.
but what would be one piece of advice that you would offer um, our viewers?
Sure. Schedule a mental health day. I think 2026 has this super unique calendar where you can turn 11 PTO days until about 46 like full weekend like adventures. So like do that. Today, schedule a mental health day for yourself. I'm currently doing a campaign to get DC and the DMV area to have an official mental health day on May 22nd. So if you don't know what day to start, that's a good day to start. Also, that's a while from now, so you should probably do it before then. So just schedule a few mental health days, especially if your employer doesn't, you know, allot those hours for you. You have to be responsible for your life. You can't allow anyone else to do that. And that's also for entrepreneurs and creators. You might not always see those PTO hours, but you literally need to take time to do nothing.
So schedule at least one mental health day this year, or
I
is
feel like a quarter, right?
okay.
Right, at least a quarter. But I also work with people who do monthly. If you're in a position to check out once a month, which is, I think, as season goes on, I think that's also very important. And maybe it's not a full day, maybe it's a few hours, maybe it's a half a day. In the summer, I love summer Fridays where a lot of people are getting off at 12 and then the rest of the day is theirs. Just, and it doesn't always have to be during the week, it could be a weekend. Say no to a lot of, I'm actually talking to myself, say no to a lot of the things that you are putting on your calendar to do absolutely nothing and rest.
But do you recommend putting that on your calendar?
Absolutely. For me, if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. And
Right. I thought I
you're
heard you say
intentional
that.
about everything else. You're intentional about your hair appointment. You're intentional about, going to see your friends, going out, to grab drinks. We put everything else on our calendar. So why wouldn't you put a time to do absolutely nothing or to relax on your calendar?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, we've gotten again some good remarks. Some of your folks that you've worked with say that they've gotten a lot out of working with you, and
Oh,
they're
hey, y'all.
in your business. Yeah, yeah. So I say congratulations. I mean, we'll see where we are in maybe, April. Like you
Yeah,
said,
let's circle. Yeah, let's do it. Let's circle back because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So
yeah.
yeah, let's see where we are during that time, and let's chat again.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You just made me think about, the whole question of obesity that we were dealing with in our community, and
Mm.
when the Obamas became president and first lady, one of the things that the Greatest Loser, exercise, all of that, and people were having these clubs all over the city, where they were challenging each other to lose weight.
Mhm.
and, reporting and all that. So, it sounds like something, a mental health day challenge could be.
That's easy.
Uh,
That's easy.
yeah,
Let's do it.
yeah, something we need to talk about. We'll see where we are. Like I said, we'll measure it in May.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's
Yeah,
absolutely do that. Appreciate your platform. Thank you for all that you do.
sure.
And obviously, I know your son, so you are obviously passing down, the family legacy and what the Washington Informer stands for in this city. And we're going to continue to support you in this moment.
Appreciate you as well, and the businesses that you're doing business with. Yeah, we need to reach out to them as well. So thanks. We will become partners in exposing or presenting some of these businesses to
Let's do it.
Thanks. All right, Leslie. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you.
Same to you.
All righty. Have a great day.
Bye.
Okay. So we're not done yet. We're not done yet. We've had a little bit on our spiritual health, of course, our mental health, but we can not, because all of those things seem to be impacted by our financial health. And Asia Clarke, who's the community manager at Chase, is with us in this sponsored segment by JP Morgan Chase, is going to talk to us a little bit about our new year and our finance. Hey, Asia.
Hi.
Hey, Asia.
How are you, Denise? Nice
I'm
to see
good.
you.
Thank you. We're getting a little feedback.
Thank you for having me.
I don't know. Is there? We getting?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I can also hear myself two times. But anyway, let's move. We're doing talking. I'm just asking you questions. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well.
So tell us a little bit, because you've talked to us before about what you do at JP Morgan Chase as a community manager. What is your role there? What do you?
Well, my role as the community manager, I bridge the community to financial literacy. And I help those in the community. My district, my market is DC. And I help people pretty much look at and see what their financial journey, where they are right now and where they want to go. So I map out opportunities and ways for them to reach their goals. And so I work out of Skyland Community Center in the Chase branch in Ward 8, but I'm also throughout the city. I work with small businesses, I work with schools, and I work with nonprofits, organizations of all kinds based off of their community to kind of sit down and identify ways that I can help them on their financial journey.
What are some of the tips you offer to some of the people that you talk to?
Well, we are in the start of a new year. So now that we're in January, I think the biggest thing is for people to look at it in the same way as their mental and physical health, their financial health, right? What are some goals? So the tips that I've been giving people that I think are important: audit what you're doing. Look at yourself like a business. What did you do last year? What goals did you set for yourself? Did you meet those goals, and how did you do that? Did you go over your budget? If you set a budget, did you go outside the budget? Did you stick to the budget? So you have to take a self-pulse, and the best time to do that is in January, because now you have a whole new set of months ahead of you, and you can start over and give yourself some grace. I think that's important, that I like to tell people. Give yourself some grace, because sometimes we all step away from our budget goals, but it's okay, because that's why you have a new year. You can start fresh.
And what about money? That's one of the things. I'm still getting this feedback. I don't know if it's on social media or something. I'm getting a lot of feedback here. But anyway, what are some specific tips that you offer?
So one of the things that we offer each month, on the first and third Tuesday of the month, we sit down and we have a wealth management workshop at Skyland, and we do a small business workshop. And one of the things that we offer in those workshops are important practical tips that people can start on day one. For instance, with your investing, it's really mental and mindset and being patient. You have to look at the long term, okay? I also mentioned how you look at and audit your statements and your habits. Sometimes you find little things that you can tweak. And so we go through those things with people sitting down. Sometimes it becomes very much an honest conversation where someone's like, I did this last month. I did Uber Eats 5 times last month. Okay, let's add that up. Can you use that money towards something else, paying off a bill? Can you use that toward investing or putting it in your emergency savings? So those are the type of things that we go through in our workshops, and they're consistent throughout the city. And all it is, if you are a Chase customer, of course you can come in the branch and ask about the workshops. But if not, they're free to everybody. So you can just ask, and we're available by following us on LinkedIn, myself, and we pop up everywhere throughout the city so that you have access to this free information.
I just made up
I
something.
just made up some.
And it's about those what I call creepy crawlers.
Creepy crawlers.
Those items that we, you know, streaming channels, subscriptions, things that we may sign up for that costs whatever, and there's automatic, what do you call it, automatic renewal, eating up our income or our savings, but we don't even kind of pitch in to make sure that we're staying up on those things. Do you talk about that as well?
Yes, we do. I think it's circumstantial to each person, but it's so funny that you mentioned that, because often when we're speaking to people and they look at their statement or they look at their spending habits, they see duplicity. I call it duplicity. I like that you call it creepy crawlers, and I'm going to probably adopt that. I ask people, where's their duplicity? Do you need all of the streaming services? Do you need all of the subscriptions? Right? Because when you add them up, you can identify ways that you can save money or you can put money towards certain things. Sometimes, sometimes people don't even know that they have these things being deducted out of their account.
Exactly.
Because they're not as an enterprise or a business, and the money's just going, and they didn't realize it. And then once they do, they realize, oh wow, I saved myself $50 a month. Well, you know what? That's gas. That's gas for a week and a half sometimes. So we do have those conversations, and I teach people about monthly subscriptions and those things that are needs versus wants, because sometimes a want becomes a need depending on how you're using it.
Wow. So if there were maybe two or three things, that you would recommend that people focus on right now to get on the right foot for the new year. Granted, we might lose some steps, but if we could start off on the right foot, what would those two or three things be?
Well, I'm going to share what I did. So I looked at my season starting from November to the end of the year. And I said, how much did I actually spend for the holiday season? Okay, that's step one. Now I have until, I say, around October or November of next year. Put a plan together, work backwards. How much money did I spend? Was it enough? Do I need to adjust? And for the next 10 months or so, put a savings plans together. So then that way you don't go in debt for your next holiday season. And I approach my savings for a lot of things like that. A lot of anniversaries or big events. How much time do I have ahead of me to save? And I break it down that way. So then that way it's not like something that's coming crashing down on me. That's number one. Number two, each month, make sure you know what's coming in and coming out. Okay. Because it's great to start in January, but you can also do this every month. That's why you have a monthly statement. How did I do? Keep a pulse on yourself. And just like you're scheduling time for your mental health and for your physical health, you need to do the same for your financial health. Sit down and make sure that you're on top of your financial health so that you don't have any surprises, because that's something that we want to get out of the habit of having these surprises. You want to know what's going on. Those are two things that I think that are very important. And it's like building a muscle, right? And so if you haven't been doing it, it's like going to the gym each day until it's a part of your life. Just build the muscle and then it becomes easier.
Well, I want to thank you, Asia. These are some great, great tips that you have given us. And what I want you to repeat as well is that, you're here with us. We're so blessed that JP Morgan Chase actually sponsored this segment. I know that you would have come either way because you just have the knowledge and want to share. But having said that, again, tell us how people can come to your place of business in Skyland, because we didn't really highlight that, and when and where.
Absolutely. So every first and third Tuesday, I'm at Skyline Community Center inside the Chase branch. There's free parking, and it's a free financial health workshop. You're going to learn wealth strategies if you're a small business. If you're wanting to start out as a small business, maybe you have a hustle and now you're trying to really think about it more seriously, come join us on the first and third Tuesday. And then if you come, I can tell you about all of our other um, workshops that we do throughout the month. I'm always happy. And use the community center. Work with me. Your outside organization, a civic association, a nonprofit. Talk to me. Come see me in the branch. I'm there almost every day. And we can talk about using this free space for the community.
Oh, that's amazing. I will be coming to talk to you. I know I've promised before, but I'm gonna make it happen in 20. It's gonna be fixed in 2026. That's my theme. Do you have a theme for the year?
I'm taking yours, Denise. It's going to get fixed. I'm going to put it on a t-shirt if you don't mind. I like that.
All right. No, I tell you this. I have been fixing some stuff the last couple of weeks, and it's amazing how, well, we'll see at the end of the year what difference it makes. And that's what this financial advice is all about. Because at the end of the year, if you really see some results, just think about how great you're going to feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
So anyway, oops, where did she go?
I'm here.
There you are. I lost you. Okay. Asia, thank you so very much for being with us and for sharing this information. And, tax season is coming up. People are going to be getting those. Hopefully, some will be getting those refunds. And we certainly want to figure out some way to give them some advice on how to manage that money.
Yes, absolutely. They can join us Tuesday, I believe, in the next month. We just had one earlier this week, but second Tuesday in February, they should join us about the fundamentals of investing. So if you get your tax
Oh,
refund, you have some money that you weren't expecting, a nice little refund. Might be a good time to learn about ETFs and mutual funds and how to do some self-directed investing on a platform. And we'll be talking about that the second Tuesday at Skyland.
wonderful. All right. Thank you so much. Asia, have a happy new year, and we'll be talking to you and seeing you soon. All righty. I want to thank all of our guests today for being with us. Reverend Tony Lee, um, Asia Clarke from Chase Community Bank, as well as Leslie Isler, who was our well-being disruptor. So just amazing guests who shared some very, very, I think, informative and news and information we can use. And that's what we try to do here at Let's Talk. We want to make sure that when you take your time to watch this segment, that you get something that you can take with you and share with others, and hopefully come back and hear more. So as we bring this broadcast to a close, I want to take a moment again to reflect on what we've discussed for a healthier 2026. It's not a vision, it's a commitment. So as you know, we explored the pillars of physical health, of mental health, and community support. So healthier choices lead to a healthier community. And together we have the power to impact the lives around us. So thank you again for joining us on Win TV. We will be back here next Friday, same time. We're gearing up for the MLK holiday Peace Walk and Parade here in Ward 8, but there are other events happening throughout the city honoring the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. We can't let them erase our history. It's up to us to remember, to commemorate, and to celebrate the achievements. As Reverend Lee said, we have a lot that we have done and should be grateful for. And so Dr. King in our lives is one of those individuals that we will honor on the national holiday, which we fought so hard for, which will be this year, January 19th, Monday, January 19th, a day on and not a day off. So if you have something that you can give or share, if you want that moment where you just want some downtime to meditate, to talk about how you can strengthen your own self, January 19th is that date. But we will be having folks on our show next week to talk about the holiday and the events that are taking place throughout the city. We hope that you will join us, and join us every Friday from noon to 1. We're here. Even if you have some ideas for guests that you might want us to talk to on Let's Talk. This is a community forum. We want to make sure that we are sharing and providing opportunities for everybody who has something I think that we all can benefit from. So reach out to us at news, at washingtoninformer.com. That's news at washingtoninformer.com. And until then, have a wonderful weekend. Stay warm, and we will see you next week. Where did you